The morning of September 11, 2001, dawned like any other in New York City. The city was waking up, with its usual hustle and bustle beginning to take shape. The skies were a brilliant blue, the air was crisp. It was a picture-perfect day, the kind that makes you feel alive and grateful. People went about their daily routines, unaware of the horror that was about to unfold. Commuters hurried to work, children headed to school, and tourists marveled at the city's iconic landmarks. At 8:46 a.m., this tranquility was shattered. A sudden deafening noise pierced the morning calm. American Airlines Flight 11, en route to Los Angeles from Boston, crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The impact was catastrophic. The impact between the 93rd and 99th floors sent shockwaves through the city and beyond. People on the streets looked up in horror and disbelief. As smoke and debris billowed from the gaping hole in the iconic skyscraper, news channels around the world began broadcasting the horrifying images. The world watched in stunned silence. People everywhere watched in disbelief, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of the event. The unthinkable had happened. Was it an accident? A terrible malfunction? The questions were endless, and the answers were elusive. The answer came soon enough, and it was far more sinister. The reality was beginning to sink in. Less than 20 minutes after the first impact at 9:03 a.m., United Airlines Flight 175, also originating from Boston and bound for Los Angeles, slammed into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. The second strike confirmed everyone's worst fears. This time the impact occurred between the 77th and 85th floors, igniting a massive firestorm. The flames were intense and unrelenting. With both towers engulfed in flames, it became horrifyingly clear. America was under attack. The world would never be the same again. The attacks on the World Trade Center were not isolated incidents. They were part of a coordinated effort by Al-Qaeda to strike at the heart of the United States. On that fateful morning, 2 other planes were hijacked by Al-Qaeda terrorists, each with a specific target in mind. At 9:37 a.m., American Airlines Flight 77, which had departed from Washington Dulles International Airport en route to Los Angeles, crashed into the west side of the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia. The impact was devastating. The impact, which occurred on the ground and first floors, caused a section of the building to collapse, resulting in significant loss of life and extensive damage to the structure. The fourth and final plane involved in the 9/11 attacks was United Airlines Flight 93, which took off from Newark International Airport, also headed for Los Angeles. However, this flight had a different fate. At 10:03 a.m., after a delay of over 40 minutes, Flight 93 crashed into a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The crash site became a symbol of heroism. The courage and sacrifice of the passengers and crew, who fought back against the hijackers, prevented the plane from reaching its intended target, which is believed to have been either the U.S. Capitol building or the White House in Washington, D.C. Their actions saved countless lives and thwarted further destruction. The immediate aftermath of the 9/11 attacks was a scene of unimaginable devastation and profound grief. The world watched in horror as the events unfolded, leaving an indelible mark on the collective consciousness of humanity. The collapse of the World Trade Center towers, a symbol of American economic might, left a gaping hole in the New York City skyline and in the hearts of millions worldwide. The destruction was not just physical but also emotional, shaking the very foundations of global security. The attacks claimed the lives of 2,977 innocent people from over 90 countries, including 2,753 killed in New York City, 184 at the Pentagon, and 40 in Pennsylvania. Each name etched into the memorials represents a story of loss and a life cut tragically short. The global impact of the attacks was immediate and far-reaching. News outlets around the world broadcast the tragic events, and people everywhere felt a shared sense of vulnerability and sorrow. Countries around the world expressed solidarity with the United States, offering condolences and support. Vigils and memorials were held globally, showcasing a united front against the face of terror. The attacks sent shockwaves through the global economy, leading to a sharp decline in stock markets and widespread uncertainty. Investors and businesses faced unprecedented challenges as the world grappled with the immediate economic fallout. The events of 9/11 marked a turning point in history, ushering in an era of heightened security concerns and a global fight against terrorism. Governments worldwide implemented stricter security measures, forever changing the way we travel and perceive safety. The mastermind behind the 9/11 attacks was Osama bin Laden, the leader of the Islamic terrorist group Al-Qaeda. Bin Laden, a wealthy Saudi Arabian who had been exiled from his home country, had declared war on the United States in 1996. He objected to the presence of American troops in Saudi Arabia, which he considered a holy land. Bin Laden also condemned American foreign policy in the Middle East, particularly its support for Israel. Al-Qaeda, meaning the base in Arabic, was founded by bin Laden in the late 1980s during the Soviet-Afghan War. The group's ideology was based on a radical interpretation of Islam, which called for the establishment of a global Islamic caliphate and the expulsion of Western influence from Muslim countries. The 9/11 attacks were the culmination of years of planning and preparation by Al-Qaeda, aimed at striking a blow against the United States and its allies. Section 5. Retaliation and Retribution, the War on Terror. The United States, under the leadership of President George W. Bush, responded to the 9/11 attacks with a declaration of a war on terror. The Bush administration vowed to hunt down those responsible for the attacks and to dismantle Al-Qaeda and its affiliates. On October 7, 2001, the U.S. launched military operations in Afghanistan, targeting Al-Qaeda training camps and the Taliban regime, which had provided safe haven to bin Laden and his followers. The war on terror had far-reaching consequences, leading to prolonged military interventions in Afghanistan and Iraq, as well as increased military spending and a global focus on counter-terrorism efforts. The U.S. also sought to build international cooperation to combat terrorism, working with allies to share intelligence and disrupt terrorist networks. Section 6. A World Transformed, the Enduring Impacts of 9/11s. The 9/11's attacks had a profound and lasting impact on the world, transforming the political, social and cultural landscape in numerous ways. The attacks led to a significant increase in security measures worldwide, particularly in the realm of aviation and border control. Governments implemented stricter immigration policies, enhanced surveillance capabilities, and increased intelligence sharing in an effort to prevent future attacks. The attacks also had a significant impact on public consciousness, creating a climate of fear and suspicion, particularly towards Muslims and people perceived to be Muslim. This led to a rise in Islamophobia, hate crimes and discrimination against Muslims in many parts of the world. The attacks also sparked debates about the balance between national security and civil liberties, as governments grappled with the need to prevent terrorism while protecting individual rights and freedoms. Section 7. The Price of Security, the Patriot Act, and Civil Liberties. In the aftermath of the 9/11's attacks, the U.S. Congress passed the USA Patriot Act, a controversial piece of legislation that expanded the government's surveillance powers in the name of national security. The Patriot Act, which stands for Uniting and Strengthening America by Providing Appropriate Tools Required to Intercept and Obstruct Terrorism, was signed into law by President Bush on October 26, 2001. The Patriot Act granted law enforcement agencies broader authority to conduct surveillance, including wiretapping, email monitoring, and access to personal records without a warrant. It also eased restrictions on the sharing of information between intelligence agencies and law enforcement. The Patriot Act has been widely criticized by civil liberties groups, who argue that it erodes privacy rights and undermines due process. Section 8. Fortresses in the Sky, the Evolution of Airport Security. One of the most visible changes in the aftermath of the 9/11's attacks was the transformation of airport security. The attacks exposed vulnerabilities in aviation security, leading to a complete overhaul of screening procedures and the creation of the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA. Established in November 2001, the TSA is responsible for security at airports across the United States. Airport security measures were significantly enhanced, with the introduction of full-body scanners, enhanced pat-downs, and stricter regulations on carry-on luggage. Passengers now have to remove shoes, belts, and jackets, and liquids are restricted to small containers. These changes, while necessary to enhance security, have also led to longer wait times and increased inconvenience for travelers. Section 9. Remembering the Fallen Memorials and Legacies. In the years since the 9/11's attacks, Memorials and remembrance ceremonies have been held around the world to honor the victims, their families, and the first responders who risked their lives to save others. The National September 11 Memorial and Museum in New York City, located at the site of the World Trade Center, stands as a poignant reminder of the lives lost and the enduring impact of that tragic day. The 9/11's attacks had a profound impact on American society, shaping its foreign policy, national security priorities, and cultural landscape. The attacks also sparked important conversations about Islamophobia, religious tolerance, and the delicate balance between security and civil liberties. The legacy of 9/11s continues to shape the world today, as nations grapple with the ongoing threat of terrorism and strive to build a more peaceful and secure future.